So I actually got started in the HVAC industry back in around 2017, 18. I knew absolutely nothing about HVAC. I barely knew how to turn the temperature up or down in my house. That was about the extent of my knowledge.
At what point do you think it makes sense to build a proper call center setup instead of just having someone at the front desk answer all the calls?
As long as you got a few extra bucks put aside, you're probably talking about an operation with more than 3, 4, 5 agents in it, and there's a pretty well-oiled machine. And the best part is with a call center is that you can scale. Scaling is super easy.
You use that setup to acquire more clients, or is it also for inbound calls that you're getting in the company?
Organic inbound is the best, without question. It's also the hardest to acquire. It's the hardest to scale. Trying to solve the Google SEO algorithm, people have specialized and been doing it for decades, and they can't even seem to figure it out. And when they do, Google just changes it with the next update and back to square one again.
Would you be willing to share some numbers around the pricing and range of it?
Generally started aroard 15,000.
How do you guys start with a call?
It all starts with building pain. Even if I went to go hire your favorite sales coach, pick whoever, Grant Cardone, there's nothing magical that Grant Cardone can say in 5 minutes. That's what I promise to my clients, is that what took me 3 years, I can get you in 3 months. But I've got clients who are spending minimum for $250,000, maybe $500,000, maybe $1 million plus.
Welcome to the HVAC Hotshots, the podcast where HVAC entrepreneurs like you learn to dominate your market and build multi-million-dollar empires. Every week, we bring you proven strategies, expert insights, and inspiring stories from industry leaders who have been in the trenches and come out on top. Whether you are just starting out or scaling up, this is your go-to resource to ignite your business goal. So buckle up, hotshot. It's time to turn up the heat and make your HVAC dreams a reality. Hey guys, welcome to 13th episode of the HVAC Hotshots. In this one, we have got Peter. Hey Peter, good to have you on, man. How's everything going?
It's good, man. Good. How about you?
Pretty good. So I'll just start with a quick introduction about you. If you could just let audience know, what you do and since how long you've been into the industry and all those stuff.
Yeah. So I actually got started in the HVAC industry back in around 2017, 18. My partner and I, who became really close friends, he convinced me to get into it. I knew absolutely nothing about HVAC. I barely knew how to turn the temperature up or down in my house. That was about the extent of my knowledge of HVAC at the time. And he made me a proposition that, he was going to be the wrench turner. He was going to do all the blue collar stuff. And he wanted me to be the, run the sales and marketing side of things and build it up from scratch. And so I went in with absolutely no prior knowledge whatsoever and just had to figure things out along the way. So obviously there's a lot more detail in there, but there's kind of a quick recap.
Interesting. So, getting into the part of call center and all the stuff that you mainly do. So I came across what you're doing in the call center space for trades. And, this is something no one's really talking about in the HVAC world. And I for sure I could say that it's a critical piece, especially when leads are flying in during summer season, right? And businesses just aren't picking up every call at the moment. So yeah, let me start with something basic. At what point do you think it makes sense to build a proper call center setup instead of just having someone at the front desk answer all the calls?
That's a good question. I do think that, someone needs to have the financial means in order to do that, because doing a proper call center, look, let me say this, there's a million definitions of what a call center is, right? In different industries, it can be called the setter-closer model, right? The setter-closer, if that person's making phone calls, that's a miniature call center, right? Having a VA who works for you, even overseas, having a VA making phone. Anytime someone's making outbound calls, you've got yourself a miniature call center, right? Now,
Yeah.
that's a loose term, right? To really call it a call center, you're probably talking about, an operation with more than 3, 4, 5 agents in it, and there's a pretty well-oiled machine. So when is it the right time? I think it's the right time when, number one, when it's within your financial budget, and not that it's so expensive, because it's not. But more importantly, you really do have to have systems set up for it. So you have to have the proper number of sales reps who can take those appointments and service them properly. And we can talk about that too, because I think that's a hugely overlooked conversation when it comes to this. I do get some smaller companies that contact me and want to get a call center built up, but they don't have the operations set up yet to really handle it. So they'll get the influx of appointments coming in, and they don't really know how to handle them properly. So let's come back and we can talk about that. But to finish answering your question, the right time is almost any time. As long as you got a few extra bucks put aside, the right time is almost any time, because I think one of the most important questions I think a company can ask is, Why should I build out a call center? Maybe not when, but like, why should I build out a call center? Is it okay if I answer that question?
Yeah, that's an interesting stuff.
Okay. So in HVAC, right, which I'm very familiar with because I owned an HVAC company for many years before we sold it. In HVAC, what I have noticed is that there's this overwhelming trend towards using shared lead generation sites like Angie, right? And Angie, and some people make it work, right? So I'm not completely bad mouthing it because I definitely know people who make it work for sure. But my question to them is like, why bother? Like, why are you messing around with something that is so built up to work against you, right? You're dealing with other competitors vying for the same lead. So why do that? There are other alternatives out there that are, in fact, way cheaper and much less headache involved. So the question of why is, to me, a super simple one because it's like, well, why are you messing around with shared leads when you can have 100% exclusive leads? So that's number one. Like, why share when you can be exclusive? And number two is why pay retail, right? Why pay some other company a profit because they got to make money too? Why pay a company a profit when you can very well become your own lead generation company and take all of those lead generation efforts in-house and start booking appointments at wholesale? So to me, it's a no-brainer. And to everyone that I talk to, once they kind of, once they sort of see that slapping them in the face, they're like, well, why the hell haven't I thought about that first? So I think that's one of the most important things is like, why do it? Why? Because why share and why pay retail? Because you can be owning the lead generation process in-house. And the best part is with a call center is that you can scale. Scaling is super easy. Scaling is real hard with other things. I can talk your ear off about how hard it is to scale with like Facebook ads and all the problems that come with running, whether it's Meta, Google, YouTube, whatever, you name it. There's so many problems that come with it. One of the biggest ones being that the moment someone clicks on your ad, they're probably going to get hit with 50 other ads just like it. And now, once again, it's no longer exclusive because they're clicking on all these other ads. So you can avoid all these pitfalls with a call center. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. So if I understand it correctly, you deal with the acquisition side of things. You use call center, or let's just say that you use that setup to acquire more clients, or is it also for for inbound calls that you're getting in the company?
Sure. That's a really good question. Yeah, you can absolutely do it for both. And I do get people who ask that question. Now, our main focus is on the outbound lead generation side of things because that's what converts into cash, right? Like I want people to have a quick win. I want people to make money doing this thing, right? And so that's the quickest way to do it is to start generating new leads that you didn't otherwise have. The ones that are already coming to you, those are great. I mean, those are fantastic. I'm certainly not bad. Now that's the best source of, leads you're ever going to get is organic inbound. But that's really hard to scale. I think everyone who's in any business, it doesn't matter if it's HVAC or any business, we all know that organic inbound is the best, without question. I'm not arguing that point at all. Of course, that's the best. It's also the hardest to acquire. It's the hardest to scale. It's like wizardry, trying to solve the Google SEO algorithm, mystery out there. So, people have specialized and been doing it for decades and they can't even seem to figure it out. And when they do, Google just changes it with the next update and then you're back to square one again. So
Makes sense. So, I just want to talk a bit about having your own guy, doing the outbound calling versus, maybe hiring someone like you, to get that setup done. Let's say if someone's paying maybe $4,000 a month in house or something along that line, how does your model compare cost wise? Is it cheaper or is it more on the efficient side of things?
it's almost always cheaper. That's that's the interesting part. And for good reason, right? It's like because we know what the hell we're doing. And so we know how to do it efficiently and effectively. And so, yes, there's an upfront cost, right? You got to pay us to do all that for you. It's not that crazy expensive. Usually our call center builds generally started around 15,000. And this is for a fully built out managed operation. So like, I'm not talking anything, this isn't like a beginner operation. This is a full-fledged call center operation. But the good news is, most companies are seeing an ROI, are seeing that payback period in less than a month. So, and I want that for all my clients. I obsess over making sure that my clients get their money back in record time because I want the good reviews. I want the good word of mouth. I want people spreading the gospel, how good of a work we're doing. I don't want them dragging out that payback period to months or years. I want it happening in the first month. My promise to everybody is the reason why I do this is because I don't want you making the same stupid mistakes that I made. because I made all of them. Because when I got started in the call center space, there was nobody like me. There was no consultants. There was no nothing of that variety. So I had to figure it out all on my own. I had to, the few people who were kind of doing that thing in secrecy, because all of them were doing it in secrecy, right? Because when you got something that works, you don't go run around sharing it with everybody, right? You hoard it and keep it to yourself. People always joke about abundancy mindset. I'm like, yeah, that sounds cool on paper, but when someone really has something that's working really well, they're not going around advertising it. No, they're hoarding it for themselves. If they're advertising it, it's probably worthless for the most part, right? So that's what I promise to my clients is that I'm going to save you the years of headaches and the years of losses that I had to sustain. So what took me 3 years, I can get you in 3 months. Here's my promise to everybody. I'll make you profitable in month 1. No questions asked there. You'll be profitable in month number 1. You'll be making a third of the full boat, right? So we go through and we do a full financial analysis as to what the financial picture is going to look like running a call center. I always tell people by month 3, you'll be at full speed. Month 1 will be a third. Month 2 will be 2/3 of the full boat, and month 3 will be full boat. So that's my promise to everyone. That's the worst case scenario. I've almost never seen it happen that way. It's usually always better, but that's my, setting of expectations for clients.
Since that sounds really interesting, but would you be willing to share some numbers around the pricing and range of it? I know it would really depend on how big a company is, but if you have some range for that.
My average client spends about 20,000. There you go. I don't try to hide that. I'm not one of those weird sales guys that tries to hide the number until I talk your ear off for an hour. No, I'll just come out and say it. Why? Because I'm actually confident in what we do. I actually know that what we do is priced incredibly fairly. We provide a tremendous amount of value for our price, right? And what is value, right? Value is what you get. Price is what you pay. I want people to feel like they get tremendous value for the price that they pay. So I'm not afraid to talk about it. So our pricing starts, as I already mentioned to you before you even asked the question, right? We started about 15,000 for a smaller type of build out, but that's fully managed. You're getting everything. It's just, a smaller number of agents. But I've got clients who are spending $40,000 to $60,000. Then I've got a couple clients who spend north of 100. But no, I think the average is.
And that's a month, right?
No. That's just to get everything built, to build out a whole call. Monthly is a good question. Monthly, I think typically we're looking at for a smaller build out, typically in HVAC. HVAC is a little bit actually less expensive to operate. Could be as low as about $5,000-$6,000 a month to operate a fully fledged managed call center, all in, all costs included. So it's much more affordable than people think. So, I always joke around. It's like, dude, if you could spend 15 to 20 grand and own your own lead generation agency, would that be a good deal? Like, would that perk your eyes? Would that get you excited? Right?
Yeah.
If you buy a lead gen agency right now, a successful one, right? That's turning out, high quality appointments left and right. You're telling me you could buy one for 20 grand? No, of course not, right? You're going to buy a company for 20 grand. You're going to buy a company minimum for $250,000, maybe $500,000, maybe $1 million plus, right? You're looking at 1 to 2 years worth of net revenue, of net earnings, right? So here's an opportunity to literally have us build you a successful, fully managed, operational, beautiful call center at a fraction, at a tenth of that price. So that's why I say it's like, people talk about value. I hope that people's eyes are opening to see, well, shit, that's a really good value.
Nice. Do you have any approximate number around the average lead acquisition cost in the HVAC industry based on your data?
I do. Yep. So we're typically seeing companies get pre-booked appointments as low as even $40 to $50. I've got clients right now who are booking pre-booked in-home appointments for as low as $40 to $50. Depends on the marketplace. It depends on the level of competition. I rarely ever see it exceed 100. Right. So that's the question you got to ask yourself is like, I hope this is an obvious one to people listening, but like, are you willing to pay $50 to get in the home? Seems kind of like a no brainer, right? $50 to get your foot in the door. Hell, even if only 1 out of 3 closes, that's $150 cost per acquisition. You want to pay $150 to acquire a new customer? What's the lifetime value of that customer worth to you? Should be a no-brainer.
Yeah, makes sense. I just want to talk about, what sort of stuff or what sort of scripts do you guys have, and what exact wording or how you guys phrase when you are actually calling a homeowner? Would you be willing to share some strategies around that?
Sure. I don't have my scripts sitting in front of me, and I don't have all my scripts memorized.
Sure.
I do work in multiple industries. I can tell you in HVAC because I do remember a lot of it. It's been a few years, but I do remember a lot of it. I can tell you in HVAC, we have two primary focuses that we focus on. The simpler one, the easiest way to get your foot in the door is obviously with a tune-up call. Springtime, fall, tune-up call, or really any time in between, but those are the easiest. And so a tune-up call is definitely going to be the easiest. You guys are probably already familiar with what a good tune-up script is. There's no magic words. It's really, just so you know, by the way, Yash, it's rarely about the words that they're saying. Usually it's not about having like the best script. A good script is super important. I'm definitely not saying that it's not important. A good script is very important, but there's nothing magical that anyone can say. I always joke around. It's like, even if I went to go hire your favorite sales coach, pick whoever, Grant Cardone, whatever, right? Like there's nothing magical that Grant Cardone can say in 5 minutes. That this is probably going to be a cold call. On a cold call, the average cold call really can't exceed 6 to 7 minutes. Anything beyond 6 to 7 minutes really starts taxing the patience of the homeowner. So you got to keep the call somewhere between 5 to 7 minutes. Anything less than 5 minutes is too quick, and it's kind of like a throwaway call. The homeowner won't take it seriously. So it can't be less than 4 to 5 minutes, but it can't really exceed 6 to 7. You've got this very, very tight, compact window in order to get your pitch across. So my story I always tell is like, even if I hired Grant Cardone, do you think there's anything magical he can say in 5-6 minutes that's going to get a homeowner to be like super excited? No, it's not. There's nothing magical that anyone can say. It's about the process. It's about the whole system. And that's what our focus is. We go well above and beyond just making a phone call, right? Like, yes, you can hire anyone from any part of the world to just go make a bunch of phone calls. That's not the interesting part. The interesting part is all the systems and all the nuance that comes with it, which we have learned over many, many years and through several different industries. And the other cool thing, by the way, the other big benefit that we've got is that not only have we been doing this for a long time, which we obviously have, but the other big benefit that we've got is that we've got this really unique ecosystem with all of our clients because we limit it to one build out per market. I don't go building a bunch of call centers in every single market. That would be defeat the purpose, right? If I built 3 call centers in Dallas, they would all be competing with each other. They would cannibalize each other. It doesn't make sense. So I can only build, one good call center per market. And the benefit of that is that now that client, number one, has exclusivity. So they never have to worry about anyone competing with them. But number two, it allows me then to have a nice little kind of like a founder's circle with all of my clients where we all get to communicate together. And that's one of the biggest benefits when you come on as a client, is you don't just get me, you're getting all my other high profile clients on your team. And we all want to share notes and we all want to share tricks and secrets because it's not a competition, because everyone knows, well, you're not in my market. So cool. I can help you out. No big deal. And why would I help you out? Why? Because I know you're going to help me out. Because if I share a cool secret with you, maybe you'll share a cool secret with me. And now I get to benefit from this other multi-million-dollar HVAC company who's now sharing their secrets with me because of this relationship through Peter. And so that's one of the cool things that I bring to my clients, is that inner circle of really high profile clients who are all willing to share their company secrets.
Makes sense. I'll circle back to the question, because I'm really interested in knowing how you guys start the call. I'll for sure agree with all of the stuff that you mentioned, that you can't really talk some magical words in 5-minute call or so. But how do you guys start with a call?
Well, the better thing is to understand where that call all even originates in the first place and how we target the homeowner. So one of the things that we specialize is in the data acquisition side of things, right? So it all starts with who you're calling, not even necessarily the words that you're saying, because the same words that I say to an unqualified and a non-targeted homeowner is going to fall flat versus if I say the same exact words to somebody who falls in my circle of the right type of homeowner that I'm looking to target. So that's one of the first things that we do, because we've got a unique proprietary ability to target the right homeowners in any given market. And so, for example, what we do a few different things. Not only do we specialize in data acquisition, so one of the other cool things my clients get with me is that we don't just build the call center. They can if they want to. They're not obligated to buy leads from us. There's no obligation to buy anything from us. But if they want to, that is one of our main specialties is the data acquisition side of things, so that they know that they're always getting the best quality data to be calling in the first place. And so we specialize in finding the right type of homeowner to call. And that means filtering out all the wrong homes. So we know all the right filters to apply and to do that. And then on top of that, I've got a team of 35 guys in Pakistan who do nothing but skip trace homeowner data all day long. And if you don't know, if you're watching this and you've never heard the term skip tracing, it's just a fancy term in the data acquisition space that actually came from the real estate side of things. But it's just a fancy term for verifying the accuracy of all the data points, right? So verifying the accuracy of the name and the address and the email and the phone numbers, obviously. And so I've got a physical team of 35 guys who are going out there using various different types of tools, and they're verifying all the accuracy of all this data. So when we acquire a lead list for you, for the agents to call, that lead list is hyper targeted. So by the time they do get on the phone with them, that's what I'm saying. The words matter less because we're talking to the right homeowner. So, with regards to words, like I said, it's not magical. If we're calling to book a tune-up call, we're calling, for example, just on a very simple level, we're calling older homes that are at least probably 10 plus years old, that probably have a system. They're probably on their original system that the builder built for their home, which is probably a piece of crap. And it's probably starting to experience problems now. And if not, it's going to real soon. And we let them know, like, hey, I noticed you're, an older home, 10 plus years old. And, you may not know this, but, homes, that are 10 plus years old that have older systems like that are probably suffering some serious efficiency problems at the very minimum. So even if your system is seemingly functioning today, are you aware that you're probably overpaying on your electric bill? So maybe your system is acting fine, but did you know that your electric bill is probably 20, 30% higher than it needs to be? It's kind of one of those hidden costs, that you're being penalized with right now that you may not be aware of. I'm happy to come out there and send a guy to come out and take a look. And maybe there's nothing wrong with your system at all. And hopefully there isn't. And if there isn't, hell, we'll just shake hands and part as friends. But would it be worth it to have someone come out there and at least just take a look for your own peace of mind? Okay, cool. How does tomorrow afternoon look for you? Right? It's a friendly conversation. But it all starts with building pain. It all starts with the unearthing of problems. No one buys anything unless they've got a problem we're solving in the first place. So let's help them understand they got a problem.
Yeah, makes sense. Now coming to the data acquisition part, you mentioned that you have got 35 guys in Pakistan, and they're scraping leads for you and then filtering them out as well. For someone who's just getting started and want to do this part as well themselves, how can they actually scrape or get these data? I know the accuracy might not be as good as you guys are having, but could you recommend certain tools and all of those stuff so that they can just get started with it?
I don't know that I would recommend that because that's a whole separate thing, right? Like to go scrape data, and scraping is just one minor aspect, right? To use
Yeah.
scraping tools is just one part of the skip tracing process. I don't pretend I'm not a skip tracer, right? I acquired these guys because that's their level of expertise. I can't wear every single hat in my company. I don't know how to fix an HVAC system, right? These aren't things that I know how to do. I know how to bring in leads. And on the same token, I don't know how to scrape. That's why I bring on the best of the best onto my team so that they can be specialists in that particular area. And I can just trust them to do it. So scraping is one part of the skip tracing process. I don't know that I would recommend, if you own an HVAC company, I'm not sure that I'd recommend that. I think you're getting caught up in the weeds to do that. I think it'd probably be way more cost effective to just buy data that's already been skip traced. And I'm not the only one doing it. I'm not sitting here pretending that I own the keys to that kingdom. I will say that I think I probably have maybe the best, if not close to the best, targeted data out there because I know what we do. Now, I don't know every competitor who exists in the world. Maybe there's someone out there who's doing it better.
Yeah.
I don't know. Hallelujah. If you can find them, good luck. Go for it. Right. But I think your best bet is to find a good source of skip trace data. There are other websites where you can buy skip trace data. So feel free to look around. I think what you're going to find, typically skip trace data, I guess if you want to go look for skip trace data, I can cut right to the chase. Typically, it's going to exist, as I already mentioned, in the world of real estate investments. That's where the term skip tracing, it didn't originate there, but that's where it's really popularized right now is with real estate investor data. And so for that, you can go to websites like Batch Data. You can go to PropStream, PropWire, forgetting another big one right now, but those are the three big ones out there. Anyone in real estate definitely knows Batch Leads. Everyone knows PropStream, but those guys are all charging, 15 to 25 cents per record per home. I can just tell you right now, we charge our most expensive data, our most targeted data we got is 14 cents. And it goes down all the way to 6. And even that is skip traced. So, I mean, we're a third or a quarter of the price of any of these companies, and we do it way better, right? Because those are the big brand name guys, so if you want to go to a big brand name guy and overpay, hallelujah, you're welcome to do that. But that's where I think where we step in and provide an additional value.
Makes sense. I want to talk a bit about conversion. If I'm calling, let's say, again, a question, it's an hypothetical situation, and it would really depend. But if I'm calling, let's say, 100 homeowners, how much conversion rate can I expect?
That's a good question, which I don't answer I answer it in a different way because there's a more meaningful way to answer that question than based on, out of 100, how many are going to convert. And the reason why that question is hard to answer, it's because it depends on the data and it depends on your market. So it depends wildly on where you are, and it depends wildly on what type of data that you're calling. So that number could vary all over the board. And it's also not meaningful to people. What is meaningful to people is what is going to be my cost in data to get one booked appointment. That I think is a far more meaningful number to people, because that's a number you can actually wrap your mind around. Like, okay, well, who cares about the number? I just wonder what's it actually going to cost me to get one booked appointment, to get my foot in the door. How much does it cost me in terms of data? So I can tell you right now, you're typically going to spend across the board, all data types, all markets, on average, you're probably going to spend anywhere from 20 to 40 bucks in data to get one booked appointment. That's just the data. Now you still got to factor in labor, software, all the other costs associated with operating a call center. So it's kind of a meaningless number, right? Because it's more than just data, right? You got to pay a human being to actually do the work. So by the time you factor that in, now we're talking, as I already mentioned, we're talking anywhere from 50 to 90 bucks. By the time you factor in your labor costs, your software, and all the other associated costs that come with running a call center, you're 50 to 90 bucks to get your foot in the door.
What KPIs do you guys look at? I mean, is it just the cost per conversion, or?
We're looking at a bunch. So what we do with all of our clients is we do what's called a weekly performance review. And during that weekly performance review, it's me, my call center manager, and Ronnie, who's our main tech guy. All three of us are going to get onto a weekly Zoom call with you and your management team, and we're going to deep dive into the entire operations of your call center. No stone unturned. We'll look at absolutely everything from agent metrics to dialer metrics to lead health to call quality assurance. So we're going to be reviewing calls. We're going to be doing agent quality assessments. So we do a deep dive into every single aspect of what makes a call center, and we're going to inspect and run through every single one of those aspects. And so by the time we're done with that, you're going to want to understand everything. So there's not just a handful of KPIs. I mean, there's quite a few KPIs that we're looking at, and there's probably maybe 15 to 20 different metrics, some more important than others, obviously, but we're looking at about 15 to 20 different metrics, KPIs that we're constantly monitoring on a weekly basis. And so every week, my client gets a health report graded A through F. You're going to get a health report as to how well everything is doing, so that everyone is constantly aware as to where they can be doing better. And so we can attack that right away for the following week and clean it up.
Makes sense. And in terms of tools, do you recommend any particular CRMs or maybe call tracking setup that works well for HVAC companies?
Yeah, sure. So CRM is not my area of expertise. If you run an HVAC company, you probably already know more about CRMs than I do. You're probably on Service Titan or House Call Pro or something like that, which is great. I was with House Call Pro for many, many years. Service Titan is great if you're a huge operation and you need that level of service. Service Titan is great, and we integrate in with all of them. So whatever we're going to be doing integrates in seamlessly with your existing CRM. So I hope that answers your question about CRM. And then when it comes to dialer tech, we can work with any dialer. And, so if you have a preference for a dialer, that's fine. We'll probably play along with it just fine. But our preference is to use the dialer that we work with, which is Ready Mode. I'm very, upfront about the dialer that we have a relationship with. And it's not for any other reason that we've tried everything. We've tried them all. And Ready Mode, after all these years, has been the one that really has proven to be the most just the highest quality batter that we've used. In terms of price as well, it's very affordable. I just tell you right now, like it costs $250 per seat. So it's not expensive at all. And that includes
Yeah.
everything. That includes all the numbers you're going to be using to make calls. That includes all the minutes that you're going to need. Everything is included in that. That's it. No additional cost whatsoever. So $250 per seat. It's very, very affordable and very, very high quality.
Talking about hiring, how do you go about hiring great phone reps?
That's a really good question. So we've got our own in-house recruiting department. That's obviously one of the other things that is paramount to running a good quality call center is the human aspect of it. That's probably the most important thing. Well, it is the most important thing. Who am I kidding? It's the most important part of it is the human aspect of it. And we bear a huge amount of responsibility for that. Obviously, this is all on our shoulders. And so we have to provide you with the best quality agents that you can get. And so we recruit primarily out of Latin America. We focus on Mexico. And the reason for that is very simple. It's just the best bang for the buck. These are the highest skilled, highest quality phone agents that money can buy. They typically earn anywhere from $6 to $8 an hour, just depending on the level of kind of expertise that you need. But for an HVAC, we're typically finding about $7 an hour is kind of the sweet spot in Mexico. The beauty of it is minimal accent, like on a scale of 1 to 10, a 1 or a 2. That's it. So 1 or a 2 on the level of accent, which is nothing in my mind because 1 out of 5 Americans is Latino. So most Americans don't even hear the accent because like, how would you know if it's the guy across the street or the guy across the border, right? You wouldn't even know. So accent means very, very little when it comes to Latinos. And then in terms of fluency, 10 out of 10. We only hire agents that have 10 out of 10 English fluency. So you really are getting the best bang for the buck. You're getting, American quality labor at $7 an hour. So it's kind of a no-brainer. That's why we focus on Mexico.
And how do you make them comfortable with, let's say, HVAC lingo or maybe any other traits?
Yeah. So we try, number one, we'd always try to focus and find agents that already have existing experience in that particular industry that you're in, whether it's HVAC, roofing, solar, you name it. So we always try to find agents that already have existing experience because that's the best. Now, I built a lot of solar call centers, and solar is the hardest thing on earth to sell. It is really, really hard. It makes HVAC look like an absolute cakewalk. So solar is really difficult. And solar, we have to find agents that have 100% have existing experience. We won't hire anyone without. Thankfully, if you're in HVAC and you're listening to this, the good news for you, HVAC is way easier to book appointments for than solar is. Because very simply put, everyone needs HVAC, right? You can't go without your heating and cooling system. If you're in Phoenix and your AC goes down, I mean, that's like a life or death situation. There's no life or death for solar. No one's ever woken up and said, hey, oh my God, honey, call the solar company. We need panels today. Those words have never been spoken in the history of time. But HVAC is a real thing. Like you need it. If it goes out, it's got to be fixed now. And quite often, the first guy to come to your house is probably going to be the one you're going to be hiring, right? Or probably the other companies are booked out anyway, especially in a place like Phoenix. So HVAC is so much easier. So that's the good news. The good news is like if you're listening to this and you're wondering if you should consider doing this, I'm telling you, the good news is HVAC is so much easier for us to book because of the urgency that's already naturally involved.
Makes sense. And, lately temperature in Arizona has been crazy, you know. How do you manage quality?
Absolutely. I mean, also I can you and I are talking right now. There's a major, if by the time when this is airing right now, there is currently a major heat wave hitting the entire country. Alaska, I just saw this on the news. Alaska, the entire state of Alaska, including the center of Alaska, which is full of glaciers and 15,000 whatever foot peaks, Denali and everything, which is normally literally glaciers and ice, is in the mid 90s, the high 90s. The entire state of Alaska. There's not one area of Alaska that's under 95 degrees right now as of this airing. It's June 26th, 2025. That is crazy. So I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, it's hot. The politics aside, hot, right? I don't care who you voted for. We can all agree it's goddamn hot. And that's that's an absolute gold mine for HVAC companies.
Yeah, I would agree on this. Circling back to, in that question, how do you manage quality when reps are so spread out?
Yeah, that's a good question. So that comes down to team management, right? That comes down to how we manage the team. And that's why we like to always play an active role in every one of our call center build outs. Now, let me tell you, we don't have to. Everything that we offer is a la carte. Everything is optional. So if you don't want us to manage your call center and you want to do it yourself, hallelujah, more power to you. You're welcome to do that. We don't have to charge you for that. But I always do urge people, like, leverage our expertise. We're not expensive for managing this, for us to manage your call center, because we're doing it in batch, right? Like, you're probably, depending on what level you're coming in at, you're probably going to have 2 layers of management. You're probably going to have your own dedicated full-time manager. He's going to be working for you. You're going to pay him directly. He's going to be an experienced call center operator who knows how to run call centers, and he's going to be your guy. You pay him directly. We make nothing on him. You pay him literally directly. That's part one. Part two is we're going to act as account supervisors. So we're going to be overseeing him and making sure that he's running the show the way that we would run the show. And that is not expensive because we're not doing it on a full-time basis. You don't need us to. You've already got your full-time manager. Now you just need someone to make sure he's doing his job right. Right. It's like when you hire a dog trainer, right? You hire a dog trainer. It's not to train the dog. It's to train you. Right. So that's what we're doing. We're training the manager. Right. So we're overseeing the manager at all times and constantly giving him coaching so that he knows what KPIs to be watching, hence the weekly performance reviews and the daily check-ins and all that good stuff. And so that's our mission, is to make sure that he's doing his job right. And to answer your question, one of the most core components of that is, of course, quality control when it comes to the agents. And so that's probably the most important thing, is making sure that the agents are well trained and well oiled. And so we're constantly monitoring that and working with the manager so that he can be doing most of that legwork and monitoring and listening to call recordings and checking in with the agents and providing them with feedback and giving, doing daily Zoom check-in sessions with them. And the other big, aspect of, to answer your question, is maintaining high morale. Morale in the call center environment is everything. When morale starts dipping, if the manager starts checking out and if the owner is not, just checking in once in a while on WhatsApp and saying hi, morale starts to dip. When morale starts to dip, that's a real problem because performance really starts to drop. People start getting burned out. It's really hard to recover from that. So we're always trying to keep that from happening. We're always trying to keep everybody happy and having a good time, and in a professional but still a fun environment, so they're having a good time, because it's a lonely job, right? These agents are all remote. They're working from home. Right. So they're sitting there by themselves in a dark room, probably not a dark room, but they're sitting there, sitting by themselves in an empty room, just banging out phone calls. It's not fun.
Yeah.
Right. I think we're all aware it's not exactly a fun job. So we have to do whatever we can to try to inject some degree of fun and community into that. So we're automatically going to create a Slack channel with everybody. The entire team, the entire operation will be put into a Slack channel that we'll provide. And that's where everybody will communicating. And then we'll have different sub channels inside of that, from the management team to the agent team to the C-suite level team. And everybody will be communicating in there. And so there's constant communication going on. So everyone stays involved. Everyone feels like they're a part of a community, and no one gets lonely.
Makes perfect sense. Peter, this was super insightful. That was it from my side. Do you have any other stuff to mention over here?
No, man, I think you asked some really great questions, and I think we had a really great conversation. I'm glad that you had me on here, and hopefully, if you're watching this, you've learned a few things. Yash, I'll provide you with all my links. I'll send you over all my links. I'll just tell you right now, my main link is for my company. It's called SolarWise, because I've been focusing on solar companies for a long time. So don't get confused if you're contacting me from HVAC and you see that solar, my company, like, what the hell's going on here? We're building out a brand new brand new brand called Scalify Call Centers. So Scalify is the new brand that we're building right now. It's just not live at the time of this recording, but Scalify will be the industry-wide brand that will be representing pretty much all industries. But our focus still right now is really on the 3 big core home services companies, which is HVAC, roofing, and solar. So those are always going to be our primary focus, because that's my area of expertise. But we are branching out into other industries as well, because I always tell people, like, a call center is a call center is a call center. Like, the art of making calls and the science behind it doesn't change based on your industry. All you got to do is change out the lead list to get a highly targeted lead list for your industry, get agents who know what the hell they're doing for that particular industry, and start calling. So, in a different script, right? Just modify the script for that industry. So It's really easy to adapt. And that's, I think, one of the cool, I guess I'll leave it off on this. If you're watching this and you're a company owner, I would probably bet a pretty good amount of money that maybe this isn't your only business that you're in, right? Maybe you got a side hustle. Maybe you're investing some real estate on the side. Maybe you got another business entirely, or you've got shiny object syndrome like every other entrepreneur I know, and you're probably eyeballing one or two other businesses right now to maybe start or buy. Cool thing is, once you own a call center, man, like now you own a lead generation company that can generate leads for whatever business you're about to go into or already are in. So how cool is that to know that once you've acquired that skill and the operations for a call center, at the few clicks of a button, you can now adapt it to any other business that you're in. So how cool is that to know that like, hey, I want to get into XYZ business, but damn it, how am I going to get leads? Right? Like that's the number one question that every potential business owner thinks about. Am I going to get leads for that company? How cool would it be to know that like that's already been solved? Like that part you don't have to worry about. You just got to focus on just picking the right business because you already know how you're going to get leads. You got a call center. So there you go.
Makes sense. Yeah, I was gonna ask, what's your best email if someone wants to, contact you.
Yeah, here, let me grab my contact information and I'll tell you the best way to contact me. So, okay, here, where is it? There we go. All right, so I'll put the link in for my call center. You can post that somewhere here in the show notes or in the description. If you want to find me on Facebook, it's just facebook.com/official Peter Roth, all one word, official Peter Roth. If you want to text me, I've got a CRM phone number. So just text me. You can text me anytime and I'll happily send you more information. You can text me directly 303-709-2090. 303-709-2090.
Watch that was it, Peter. Thanks a lot for your time. Yeah, I hope, someone listening to this probably got some really good value from this. So yeah, that was it from my side. And yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye. Have a great day.